Okay. Okay. Welcome to the grand finale of my summer school, part 4 out of 4, which is called Drawing a Chair. And as usual, I will be drawing this object today with a twist to it. There's always a twist to it when we are drawing as Betty Edwards instructs us to. Just to make a teaser for today's session, I'll be using this Motif Seeker here to draw with, and we're going to draw some negative space again, which builds upon last time. So, till now, I just want to say it's been an eye-opener to study this book, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. I have, as you know, only delved into now 4 exercises and 4 chapters. There are much more to it, but just diving into these 4 subjects has been amazing. And I also want to thank you all for joining in on this process, and I appreciate all the comments that you have provided with me, so thank you. If you want to try out today's assignment, you need to find a chair, a physical chair, as Betty Edwards underlines, because there's no drawing from a photograph here, not in this exercise at least. And I suggest that you find a chair with sort of an intricate design, a design where there are some overlapping shapes and some negative space playing out. And I can just show you what kind of stool I will be drawing. If I just flip the camera, you can see that I have a setup here. So this beautiful stool over here I will be drawing. You can see it has some holes in it, some negative space, and that's good for today's exercise. I apologize for all the mess around it. It's because we're doing some renovation in the kitchen. But as you'll see later on, using this Motif Seeker will be good for cancelling all that kind of noise, at least for me. So, apart from the chair, we need, of course, paper, we need a pencil, and we need a scissor. The first thing that we do is we have to create a Motif Seeker. And a Motif Seeker is basically this thing here. I've just prepared beforehand. And what you do is you start off by taking a piece of paper of the same size as the format that you will be drawing on. So in my case, I will be drawing the stool using A4. So I have taken a piece of A4 paper to create my Motif Seeker on. So if you're using A5, you will be taking a piece of A5 paper as well and create that Motif Seeker. The way you then do a Motif Seeker is by drawing 2 lines, 2 diagonals from each corner, like that. And this way you find the middle. Then you measure out 5 times 5 centimeters and 6.5 times 6.5 centimeters. I'm not sure why Betty Edwards has this measure, and I didn't really use a ruler to measure out. I just used my sort of intuition to measure out this, and then I cut a rectangle. So there we have it, a Motif Seeker. And let me just, before going to today's drawing assignment, let me just explain what the value is of drawing with this Motif Seeker, which we're going to do. So, first of all, it helps us to see negative planes or spaces by making sort of a frame around the shapes. So, if I just flip the camera again, and let's imagine that my iPhone lens is now my eye, and then I can take my Motif Seeker in front of my eye. Oops, just gonna flip around so you don't see the numbers. So as you can tell, I can frame this stool like that. And in this way, Betty Edwards argues, the rectangle of my Motif Seeker mimes the edges of my paper. So this is really a good way of measuring angles and all that. And yeah, so the negative space gets equally important, just as much importance as the positive shape. So our drawing will then be harmonic, Betty Edwards argues, and therefore the issue of composition is solved. And also when drawing the negative space, as we already know, we are activating the right hemisphere of our brain and muting the left side of our brain. And now we know through the summer school that this is what we want to do when we draw. Otherwise we end up in that symbolic way of drawing, where I would end up drawing this stool. Not the way it looks, but the way my left hemisphere think it looks, in a symbolic way, in a verbal way, which happens around the age of 6. So let's start drawing. I will go through the steps this time, all the steps before drawing, because I won't be able to explain once I draw, because this is a quite immersive way of drawing, which I will show you in a bit. So let's go to the steps. 1, find a chair. Check. 2, we're going to look through the Seeker as if you wanted to memorize the whole thing and keep it inside your memory. So once I start drawing, I will then look through the Motif Seeker. And an important thing that I forgot to mention, it's important when you use the Motif Seeker to have the stool or chair or whatever you're drawing touch at least 2 places of the Motif Seeker. So here, for instance, could be a good place. The leg below and the leg to the side, to the left side, or the top here. The top here would then touch my edge. So look through the Seeker as if you wanted to memorize the whole thing and keep it inside your memory. Next, you look at your drawing paper and imagine the chair's positive shape on the paper, just as you saw it through the Seeker. And now, step 5, you look through the Seeker again, and you look at the negative space around the chair. And for instance, you have the shape here, and here, and in here, and in here, all those negative spaces. So if you start by looking at one of the sides of the chair, so for instance over here, this part here, then you look at this space and wait till you can see that shape. So I don't know if you guys can see it now. The next step is look at the paper and imagine that shape on the paper, while remembering that the Motif Seeker's edges also represents the edges of your paper. So this shape over here, this negative shape, you then have to imagine on the paper here. In the next step, many steps here, our job, Betty Edwards writes, is to draw in the negative, the contours of these negative shapes, one after another. And you can start by drawing the outsides, so out here, or the insides. Doesn't really matter, she says. If you meet an angle at some point, she says that you should just say to yourself, how is the direction of that angle compared to the sides of the Motif Seeker? That's my vertical angle. So for instance, if we have this angle going here, I can then compare it to my Motif Seeker. You see that it has a slight angle to this side. So this angle, keep in mind that also here, you can measure out this angle compared to this. And there you have the paper, you have your format of the paper to compare all those angles. Right. She says the 7th step here is more about reflection. She says, while you draw, notice how it feels being in the condition of the right hemisphere. The feeling that time is standing still, the feeling of beauty in what you see. During the process, you will realize that the negative space will seem interesting in their peculiarity, hard word, and complexity. So I'll see if I can get into that state of beauty. And I've never tried this exercise before, so I'm really excited. Unfortunately, I only have one camera set up, so I'll try to shift back and forth between showing you what I draw and showing my face as I draw with this Motif Seeker. So bear with me. Let me just have a cup of coffee, a sip of coffee before I start. Okay, paper ready. Motif Seeker. I need to take off my hat because I need to look through this. And one more detail. I'm going to be looking with one eye open only. This is easier. This creates a monocular view so that we don't get distortions of perspective. So let's see here. I need to have it, you can have it take it back and forth until you see the chair touching at 2 points of the Motif Seeker. So it will be something around here. Okay, so first step is to see the negative spaces. Okay, yeah, I see the shape. I'll start out at the left side. So he'll be around here, I think. Yes. No, maybe around here. Here, yeah. It's already funny. And then it goes all the way down to here. Okay, and then we have, I'm trying to, all the time I'm looking at the stool and I can feel that my right hemisphere, or left hemisphere, sorry, wants to take over this thing, thinking all the time, thinking stool, but you need to mute that and think of just think of drawing the angles and the lines and thinking about drawing the negative space. This is so much fun, guys. Wow. Let me just show you what I drew so far. Might not look at the chair exactly now, but this is not the point. The point is to focus on those negative spaces. So where was I? Yeah, here. And then I sometimes look down at the paper to orient myself, just to feel where I'm going. Then we have one goes down like that, and down. Up there. Okay. Then I start up there. Okay, so that was actually the negative space outside of the chair. Let's just have a comparison so far. Really interesting. You can tell how you get the sense of perspective already, and also remember that my perspective of looking at this chair is a bit taller than the camera is right now, because I'm sitting above my camera, so I'm looking more down on the chair. And I think this, you can tell from the drawing that it has that perspective to it. And hello to Nancy's art, welcome aboard. Now I want to start by going inside of the shape and drawing all the negative spaces inside the chair. So this shape here, for instance, and this shape here, this shape here, this. Let's go for it. This time I'll angle down my camera so you can see what I'm drawing. How's that for you guys? So, okay. Okay, Motif Seeker, ready. We are down here. Yes, here. Go. Then we have one that says over here. And now I can tell what she means by looking at the complexity and peculiarities of the shape. For instance, this one is really an interesting square. Interesting play of pattern here already. Triangle and a square, and this is just the negative space of the chair really. I'm trying to figure out where I should put this one. Here maybe. I have one here. And remember those angles. Once you get to an angle, you can compare it to the edges of your paper. You have that edge here, which is straight, that edge here, which is also straight, these two. And then you can angle, you can see the angle better. And then we have also, I'm just gonna draw in the negative space here of the handle here at the top. Right. That was it actually. Look at that beautiful, beautiful stool. Quite interesting. This was really an eye-opener. Can have a comparison here. And you can also see what she means by having the composition issue solved already, because as you can tell, I've used the paper by having the chair touching two places. Actually, it touches all four places of each edge here. So that's quite interesting. And this way you use the whole paper by dealing with the negative space. One last thing I will do with this drawing, I will just create the sides of the chair as well. I know that Betty Edwards doesn't mention this, but I don't know, I just feel like doing this. So now that I've done the exercise, I can then also just see how are the angles. Okay, so they were quite off. At least here. Wow. Let's see, then it hits down here. And if you should like put on a label on what kind of technique I use right now, I think the closest thing would be blind contour drawing, or the modified blind contour drawing, because I once in a while look at the paper. Okay. Yes. This is really an intricate stool that I have chosen to draw, but as you can tell, this stool is not perfect. It's really not, because the lines are quirky, the proportions don't fit, and some of the things are way too broad to one another. But the thing that it has a lot of life, and you can tell that it's a person who's been looking at this stool while drawing it. And I think that's the genius thing about this way of drawing. I've been focusing in this exercise on drawing all the negative space. So here I drew this shape and not the stool. I drew this shape here, this shape, not the stool, this shape, and this shape, and this shape, this shape, this shape. And I can really tell how this works. And as we saw last time, when I drew a banana and a pair of sunglasses, once you draw the negative space, which are all those parts here, you also draw the positive shapes. And that's really interesting, I think. Yeah, so I think that you should definitely try to do this exercise. And if you haven't checked out the other videos that I made during the summer school, go check them out. I just want to round off this summer school here, and yeah, so the whole point of the book is really that using the right hemisphere of the brain opens up for a whole new world, a world where you use your eyes and you don't use verbal expression and symbolic system to draw with. And this is the key, really. And the vast drawing, the blind contour drawing, drawing the negative space are all those things that help us activate the right hemisphere of the brain. And I really hope that I've managed to open the doors to this approach and this beautiful knowledge by Betty Edwards. I want to round off by having a quote by in the end of this book, just to round things off. So what does Betty Edwards write? Okay, ready for it? By drawing on the basis of the skills your right brain possesses, your ability to dig deeper into the things around you is developed. When you observe people and objects in your daily going about, you can imagine that you're drawing them, and that way you will irresistibly see in a different way than before. Your eyes have been opened. It's the artist in you that see. That's quite beautiful. So yeah, that was all. If you wish more of this school thing in the future, I'll be happy to know that in the comments. Thank you all for showing up this summer school. I want to wish you a splendid and relaxing summer holiday. I have 2 videos coming up here in June before I go on summer vacation through the whole of July. And then I'll be back sometime in August. So see you around, folks. And yeah, have fun drawing.